Moses said in the Old Testament, as we read in the first reading, that a prophet would come who would be like me, who God would raise up for you, and to him you shall listen. The responsorial psalm, if today you hear his voice, harden not your hearts. So this kind of theme of hearing the voice of the Lord, hearing his teaching, and our Lord and the gospel is teaching in the synagogue, teaching in a way that kept the people spellbound by his words, because he spoke with authority and power to cast out demons, and they obeyed him, and new teaching with authority. So this, our Lord came to teach us the truth, teach us how to live our life, and our duty is to listen as students. We're in the school. We're in the school of holiness, in the school of Jesus and Mary, the saints, the teachings of the church. We're in school. We're always in school to the end of our life. We don't graduate, we don't get a diploma, and then it's all over. We can go do our own thing. We're always in school, always learning more, and there's an infinite amount of truth and beauty and perfection to learn from God. So we always want to be in school, always sitting at the desk, always sitting like St. Mary Magdalene at the feet of Jesus, Mary, listening to his words, absorbing, taking them all in like a sponge, being malleable, being docile, not sort of sitting there with our hand on our chin or with our arms crossed and so to speak, analyzing everything and making sure that this is right and wrong. What our Lord speaks always the truth to us, and we need to be totally a sponge, totally absorbing. We absorb it all, and then we can analyze it. Then we can seek to understand it more and more fully. But we need to be like those children. We need to be docile and humble, not in so much in this kind of prideful attitude that I'm going to figure it all out. I'm going to say what needs to be applied in this situation and that. Let God do that, and let him work in our heart. Let him work in our mind and intellect. We need to be docile and humble and little. And like the saints, St. Thomas Aquinas, who after he wrote everything, he said this is all straw. And I think of G.K. Chesterton, who was universally considered a great genius, and he never considered his work anything special. Somebody asked him what the greatest works he considered were, and he said, I don't think any of my works are great. And he was always kind of a little embarrassed to give away his books, and his when people ask him to autograph his books, he would do it kind of sheepishly. He was very humble despite his genius and his incredible intelligence. And he was a man of listening. He would listen more than he would talk if someone else was speaking. So this idea of always listening to God, being docile and taking it all in, but not stopping there. We need to take what we have learned, what we have absorbed, and to put into practice, to be Christian practitioners of the Word, to heed what God has said. So listening is really not enough. The first step, the second step is to put it into practice, and that comes sometimes is not an automatic thing. We can be stymied by our fears and by our pride and by our unwillingness to do God's will, because it means I had to change my life. But we need to be changing. We need to sort of have a spiritual dynamism in ourselves all the time, all the days of our life, even into old age. No matter how old we are, we need to be ready to change, to be better and better, because an old dog can learn new tricks in the Christian life. We're all to be, keep growing in littleness as we go older. So we can always keep learning and changing and becoming better and better. Some people they say I don't like change, and some people do like change. And when in the spiritual life we have to like change for the better, and so we have to see ourselves as changeable, malleable in the hands of God, and which means I have to listen, and then I have to put into practice. And to put into practice, we need grace from God. We have to pray for grace. And we have to say, I can't do it on my own, but I can do it with the power of God. I need to ask for the grace to put into practice what I have learned, what God has taught me. And God will enlighten us if we listen, if we ponder, if we're open, and we are quiet enough to hear what God has to say, and to put it into practice. And we do that with the power of God. Keep asking, keep praying, keep longing and yearning for what we know is the truth and the right thing to do, even if I have these ingrained habits that are difficult to change. I can and I must. I can and I must with the grace of God. We need to say that to ourselves. I have to be patient. I have to be charitable. I have to be forgiving. I have to be more mortified. I have to do these things to be holy, to be a saint, to please God, to stay away from sin. I have to do these things, and if I can't now, I must. I must do them, and that's the kind of attitude we have to have. A Christian who loves God and gives Him his whole heart will say that, and will not stop until they can do it with the power of God, with the grace of God. And even if we're not successful, it's that effort, that praying, that faith and trust in God that He looks at and that He will reward. So we're on this journey to keep walking high, keep walking, to the mountain of God. And as Saint Therese says, we climb the mountain of God by going down into the valley of humility. We receive grace with humility. We make progress with humility. We learn with humility. We absorb, and we have power and strength to do God's will with humility, only that way. So let us listen humbly. Let us practice humbly what Jesus has taught us, and let us keep learning to the day we die. Keep growing and changing into a more and more holy person, more and more to the likeness of Jesus and Mary.